subscribe now and press the bell icon. Never miss an update.
Good morning, sir. And I really am more than humbled. I'm really forever in gratitude that you agreed to spare your time and agreed to share your knowledge and your expertise with us today.
Thank you.
How do I introduce someone who who lives behind the shadows but knows what's happening and how it's happening? But I will try and show a candle to sunlight actually today. Today we are really privileged and humbled to have Lieutenant General Narasimhan, who is not just a veteran of the armed forces, but is also a member of the National Security Advisory Group, and is an astute mind and an analyst on all matters related to security. So we at Indoy are trying to disseminate the information and provide factual information to every citizen of this country on the Indo-China face-off. Not just the military perspective, but the analytic perspective, the journalistic perspective, and what the common man understands of what is being dished out to them in the name of mainstream media. I have personally nothing against anyone in the media or in politics or in anything. We welcome views and we welcome expert opinions. Information is not just a right, but the right information is more important. Easy to understand information is more than important because for someone with an intelligence level like me, I need to be explained in extremely simple language without the jingoistic jargons used in on TV. Your eminence and your strategic expertise and your professional background is something which will take me at least 24 hours to put some light on. I wouldn't be finished even in 24 hours. And I know whom I'm talking to. I'm sure the viewers will understand that it's a real privilege to have you explain the entire situation as it stands today. What exactly is happening and what is the way forward is the simple thing that everyone wants to know. So the platform is yours, sir.
Thank you very much, Bharat, for giving me this opportunity to speak to Indoy and the people who are actually associated with Indoy. And I'm also thankful to the listeners today who have tuned in to listen to some of the views that I have on the subject. I will try and put it as simple as possible because this boundary issue is something that many people have not understood really well. So in the next about 3 to 5 minutes, I'll try and give a little gist of this and then bring you on to what happened in the last 1 month and explain to you as to where we stand and what we are looking at as we go ahead. This is the way I have structured my talk today. To come to the boundary issue, we need to go back to the year 1954. 1954 is the year when we went on a patrol and those areas we must understand 60, 70 years ago, those areas were really remote and many of our patrols were not able to reach those areas because there were no roads, there were no tracks, they had to go man-pack, mule-pack. So obviously it was very, very difficult to reach those areas. When one of those patrols reached somewhere around 1957, we found that the Western Highway was cutting across almost midway through that side chain. That is the first time we knew that Chinese have made a Western Highway. Our maps showed Aksai Chin. You have seen, all of you have seen the India map. On the head, you will find the right hand side, you will find a circle, you will find a semicircle like this coming in. That is the area of Aksai Chin. And in that area, if you can cut it in the center, you find this Western Highway coming from north and going towards south and then going on to the east. So this is basically the road that the Chinese made to link the Xinjiang province with Tibet province. So this is the Western Highway. And the reason why Chinese are actually insisting on Aksai Chin to be part of their territory is to give depth to this Western Highway. If you don't give depth to this Western Highway will forever remain under threat of either getting cut off or getting disrupted. So this is something that we need to understand. When we raised this issue in 1959, Mr. Chou En-lai, who was then the Premier of China, gave out a particular line that they said that it is their boundary. And that is the claim line, what we call as 1959 claim line. In 1960, they changed very minorly, and thereafter they said 1960s, this is our claim line. So till today, when we discuss with the Chinese, we discuss the 1960 claim line. So that we should understand. Then 1962 war happened. During the 1962 war, the Chinese troops came further to the west of this 1960 claim line, which implied that they had actually captured more area than what they had claimed in 1960. At the end of the war, what they did was they went back 20 odd kilometers. And therefore, even after the 1962 war, even though they had come ahead of their claim line, they've gone back behind that claim line. So till today, that 1960 claim line stands. And how is the 1960 claim line is seen on ground? I'm sure many of you would have heard Karakoram Pass.
Yes.
It starts from the Karakoram Pass, it comes further south, turns a little to the southeast, and then goes and ends in a pass called Konka Pass, Konkala. This is the alignment of that boundary. And this is where all these things are happening. So that is the reason I thought I'll give you this background.
Yes, that's more important.
So this is something that we need to understand. This is the claim line, and this is where the things are happening. Now coming to 2013. In between this 62, lot of things have happened on ground, in the sense that there will be a lot of face-offs on the border, because India and China do not have an agreed boundary. So when the patrols come onto the border, there is enough face-off that used to take place all the time. The next major incident took place in 67. That is in Nathula, when they were trying to lay the barbed wire in between. There was a firefight. We opened with artillery, rifles, whatever weapons we had. Chinese suffered almost 4 times the casualty of the Indian soldiers, and that is something that people have to read in case you want more. It's available on the net, you will be able to read it. The next major incident took place in 75 in a place called Tulungla in Arunachal Pradesh, when one of the Assam Rifle patrols was going. They actually lost the way and went into Chinese territory. They got ambushed and got killed. So 1975 is the last time any firing took place, any deaths took place prior to 15th of June. This is something that we need to keep in mind. Thereafter, in 1986, Chinese came into a place called Samdurumchu in Arunachal Pradesh, where the Intelligence Bureau patrols used to go, and they used to vacate the post for winters, and in the next summer, when they went up, they found the Chinese sitting there. So it took us almost 7 years through negotiations. In fact, that was the time when General Sundarji, who was the chief at that time, ordered Operation Checkerboard, wherein troops were airlifted and dropped on ground to surround the Chinese from three directions. That actually forced the Chinese hand not to proceed further, and we were dominating the areas where the Chinese had occupied. So through negotiations, it took almost 7 years for us to send them back. So why I'm saying this is, when people say it is 1 month okay, it's already 1 month, nothing is happening, people are not gone back, etc. You need to keep these things in mind, how things happen. After 86, the first major incident, that means there were no, the face-offs were taking place, but they were not actually coming to limelight. It used to get resolved at the local tactical commanders level. In 2013, for the first time, again a major face-off took place in a place called Dipsan, which is little north of the Galwan, which we are hearing for the last 1 month. There the Chinese troops came in, pitched tents and started staying there. We went into a face-off with them. We also pitched our tents, etc. And it took us almost 3 weeks to negotiate, and then through talks we sent them back. In 2014, in a place called Chumar, which is further south, in Chumar, a similar opposition happened of constructing a track. We opposed it. Then a face-off took place. It again took a couple of weeks for disengagement, and then they went back. So why I am saying this is, Eastern Ladakh has come into focus, not now, from 2013 onwards. That this point also we need to keep in mind. So when these things are happening, then came 2017, Doklam happened. Doklam is something which is a little different, basically because we went into Bhutanese territory to stop when they stopped the Chinese road construction, when they were trying to unilaterally alter the status quo on the tri-junction between India, Bhutan and China. So that standoff took almost 72 days to resolve. We are all aware of that. When that was happening, you found an incident happening in Pankungso. Pankungso, I'm sure you all would have heard about it in the last 1 month. In Pankungso, another incident happened. A similar face-off took place. For the first time, the troops engaged, both the sides, troops engaged in throwing stones at each other. So this is something again we should keep in mind. The reason why I'm building this up is, when you want to understand what is happening now, you should also understand how we have come to this.
So
this
the
level
chronology of
violence.
events is more important than to understand the entire issue.
So that is the reason I am covering this.
Yes, sir. Yes,
and then at that time, what happened? The only saving grace was nobody lost his life in the stone throwing and all that took place. Now coming to the present one. On 5th of May, in the area of Pankung Lake, Pankungso, a Chinese patrol came. Our patrol went and stopped them. There was a face-off. There was a violent reaction. People got injured on both the sides, and then they disengaged. On 9th of May, in an area called Nakula, not Natula. Natula is different. Nakula is different.
Nakula is different.
Nakula, yeah. Nakula is on the western side, on the north, but in the west. There, another face-off took place. That is basically because Chinese are claiming their area to be something close to a place called a wall, and that wall is basically a temporary kind of piling of sand, etc. for the graziers to protect themselves from the high velocity winds that come into that area. So they said the claim to their reasoning for the claim is basically to say that we actually our glaciers have been going up to the area of the wall, and therefore we claim that area. Whereas all across we have been following the policy of watershed principle. What is a watershed? If the rain falls on the watershed, the water will part on both the sides because of the ridgeline that you have.
Yes.
So this watershed principle is the one which has been applied across the board. Here they are saying traditionally our glaciers have been grazing, and so we want to come up to that area. So the Indian Army patrol was there, and then the Indian Army patrol stopped them. Again, there was a violent face-off that took place, and thereafter they disengaged. The Chinese have gone on to their side. They have got they put their tents up, and then they're staying on their own side. They said they are willing, they can stay anywhere they want. The third incident took place in the area of Galwan. A similar one. You have heard about PP-14 in a big way in the last month and a half.
Yes, yes.
Now PP-14, I explained to you the alignment of the LAC. The alignment of the LAC actually goes through somewhere close to PP-14. PP-14 is patrolling point 14. That means our patrols used to go up to the area, patrol, and then come back. So these patrolling points have been laid down over a period of time, and over a period of time, and that is something that we follow even now. So what has happened is, on PP14, you find that there was a face-off again. The Chinese are trying to come into PP14, and they were stopped by the patrol and sent back. And thereafter, there was also a little scuffle out there. People got injured a little bit, but not majorly. And then they went back. So these are the three incidents that have happened. Why have I explained these three incidents to you? The reason is, before this, whenever these face-offs took place, it used to be a standalone. That means there was only one incident somewhere happening, and both the sides got involved and then resolved it in some form. This time around, you found incidents happening in Eastern Ladakh. You also found it happening in Nakula in Sikkim. So what has happened? Previously, the understanding was, when an incident took place, it was actually a local commander on a patrolling issue. It happened, it got escalated, but it also got de-escalated. But when an incident happens like this in a large geographical area, it means it will require higher level coordination. So which implied that at least at the Western Theatre Command level, Western Theatre Command of China, China's People's Liberation Army, actually looks after the entire Indian border. So at that level, at least, this should have been coordinated. Otherwise, this kind of a thing can't happen in geographically displaced areas. So this is the point we need to understand. And other differences that happen in these incidents are, one is the number of PLA people who came, the People's Liberation Army personnel who came were rather high. And the third difference that took place was the level of aggression was also much higher than the previous incidents. So these are the differences in these incidents that as they have taken place. These incidents took place around between 5th and 11th, 12th of May, and thereafter things were normal in the sense that there was a tension, but every day local ground level talks were going on between the commanders. They used to meet each other. Then 3 major general level talks took place on 22nd May, 23rd May and 2nd of June, as a result of which it was decided things will probably decided and taken a final call on the 6th of June, when a corps commander level, that is the lieutenant general level talks were to take place. So our GOC 14 Corps, General Officer commanding of 14 Corps, General Harinder Singh, and his counterpart on the other side, Major General Liu Lin, who is the Southern Xinjiang Military District Commander, they met on 6th of June, and a process of disengagement was agreed upon. Now this process of disengagement was agreed upon and it was going reasonably well. On 15th, when our patrol, led by Colonel Santosh Babu, went up to the area of PP14, they found a structure, basically a tent, which is on the R side of PP14. So they objected to that and told the PLA to go back. The PLA went back. The tent was brought down, and we pitched our tent in that area, because it was our area. Within a period of time, maybe an hour and a half, whichever hour and a half, 2, the Chinese came back in rather large numbers. And what happened was, we were outnumbered at that time. They came in large numbers. Again, a scuffle took place, a hand-to-hand fight took place. That is where you found the 20 people from our side died. And our estimates are, the casualties on the Chinese side were also substantial, but it may be either equal to ours or maybe a little more, is what we get to know. To compound this problem, the area where this hand scuffle and fighting was going on was also very a narrow area, which could lead to people falling into the Galwan River. Galwan River is something which we need to understand. It's a mountain river which is fast flowing, and also the temperatures are below 0 in that area even now. So some of the people initially you would have had only 3 people died, the colonel and two other ranks died. Later on the numbers increased to 20, and the reason for that was, some of these casualties occurred because of falling into the river and because of the cold, because by the time we could reach them and evacuate them in the morning, actually hypothermia got them.
Yes.
So they actually died because of the cold also, some of them. So that is how you got the numbers of 20. So then again the disengagement took place. The area was tense, but it was quiet. Then again the diplomatic, the foreign minister spoke to the Chinese foreign minister. Then again it was agreed upon that another corps commander level talks will take place on 22nd of June. That is 2 days ago.
Yes.
that was again, the talks went on for about 11 hours. And then you find that another process of disengagement was agreed upon. And since yesterday, you may see that, some people are saying that another tent of the Chinese have come up on PP-14 and other things. You will find that coming in the media. What I would suggest is we should not be nitpicking about one tent or two tents, because tents can be pitched in 5 minutes and taken away in another 5 minutes. So that is not something that we should look at. What we should look at is the Chinese have attempted to build force and try to pressurize us into accepting some kind of a LAC, line of actual control. And that is what we need to understand and we need to counter. Now, when you want to do that, what we would like to look at this point in time, this is how things stand. Now, what is the future like? What are we planning to do in the future? That future is something we need to understand. First thing that we need to do is to ensure that both the forces, Indian Armed Forces and the Chinese Armed Forces, should disengage and go back to the areas where they were holding in the month of April. That is before all these things started. They should go back to those areas. Status quo ante, as it existed in the month of April, is something that we were looking at. Once that is done, then we need to revisit the agreements and the protocol that we have signed with each other, sit together and then decide on the further implementation of those agreements and memorandum of understandings and the standard operating procedures, so that we do not get into a situation like this again. So this is something that we need to do. Yesterday, there was a diplomatic level talk, which resulted in something, in the sense that that is known as the working mechanism of coordination and consultation and coordination. That is taken place yesterday. Again, the messages which came from both the sides have been generally calm, and then they have said that we will resolve this through talks and then ensure that the boundary, the border remains peace and tranquil. That is what has been agreed upon on the.
I have very simply put just two questions. If this is as you just explained, and rightly so, if we look at this as a purely bilateral and a territorial issue, why is this information, which is so factual and which is so logical, why is this not being spread amongst the citizens? Because there is a lot of unnecessary talk. Warmongering doesn't help. At the same time, wishing away a problem is also not solving the problem. Does the Indian military, in normal way of their functioning, can they not explain that this is purely a territorial issue, and it's basically something which can be resolved at a very local level? Yes, there is a loss of life, and every loss of life is important, and it's deplorable. But let's restrict a problem to the size that it is. There is no need to put it under a microscopic lens and make it larger than what it is actually. Can't there be this kind of a communication coming in from all sources? I'm not talking just from the military perspective, I'm saying even from the diplomatic perspective, and even in the general public discourse. Why is this not being spoken the way it should be, the way you just explained?
Okay, I am actually not fully into the government.
I know that, sir.
I can understand.
I'm speaking to you just as a private citizen.
No. My point is, no, you're right. I'm trying to give an explanation to why the governments are reticent and why the military is reticent. See, you should understand the military follows a hierarchy.
Yes.
Okay. If something happened in Galwan, it will go to the CO. From CO, it will go to the brigade commander, divisional commander, corps commander, army commander, chief, and then it will come to Delhi, and then it will get analyzed and then done. But unfortunately, today we are in a era where the first to break news syndrome is actually killing whatever is happening. So what has happened is, there's a competition between the media houses. I broke this news first, and so what they do is they hear something from somewhere, They hear something else from somewhere, put two and two together and not make it four and make it eight, and then put it across in some form or
the 22.
Yeah. So that is a problem that we face. So that is a democracy. We don't want to also, I'm sure the government also doesn't want to actually tie the hands of the media to say that you should not report this or etc. We are a democracy. People are wanting to say something, let them say it. That is okay. This is from the army side. From the government side, what happens is, if the government is already negotiating a position with China, and if they have to come openly and say many of these things, that actually weakens their arguing position.
Yes, the negotiation power is lost.
The negotiation power gets lost. So the governments are generally reticent. They do not want to reveal their hand. They do not want to reveal what they are saying elsewhere. Whereas the media is free to see whatever they want to say. That is not to say that we can't probably do this better. We can probably do this better in some form. We need to probably incorporate a media plan along with this to say that, at least some kind of briefing, some kind of factuals need to be given to the media so that, they also don't go on a tangent. I think those things are already being worked on. I'm aware of it because in the National Security Advisory Board, we took this up. Because we found that the strategic communication and the narrative is being not actually won by the government, it is won by the others. So we had suggested that we need to create a structure for this, and that is under works. Hopefully, in some time it will come into place.
And so, what can a common citizen in today's time actually do to not hinder what the armed forces, and I'm talking for the complete bouquet of armed forces that we have, what can a common citizen actually do, or what should a common citizen be doing, not just as some kind of a favor, but as a duty? Like I take it upon myself as a citizen of this country to ensure that in my own small way, through my entire group at Indoy, to provide simplified explanations to the Indo-China face-off. And yes, we did have a lot of discussions on whether we should call it the Indo-China face-off to begin with, because every alphabet matters when you're talking diplomacy or when you're talking warfare strategy. Everything matters. But what should the citizen be actually doing? Because the responsibility is also of the citizen.
See, responsibility and irresponsibility both are of everybody, actually speaking. One can choose to be responsible, one can choose to be irresponsible. That is common for everybody. What I would request the citizens to do is to make a considered kind of judgment and a view, and not enter into a loose talk. See, what happens is, today if you look at the TV shows in the evening, or any time of the day, if there are 10 people speaking at the same time, obviously nobody is making sense of it.
Yes.
So it happens in both, it cuts both ways. Probably we need to be more open in telling them what is actually happening, and probably the citizen also should be more considerate and more knowledgeable. One thing also comes up because of lack of knowledge of these things, how these things have happened, how these things happen on ground. So what we need to do is not to make quick fix judgments and then keep talking loosely about it. Let us trust the armed forces. They are on the ground. They will make their professional judgment the way they need to make it, and thereafter then they carry out the actions as they deem fit at that spot. We don't know what is the temperature there. We don't know what is the terrain there. We don't know how many people they are facing. You don't know how they are facing it. But then everybody has got an opinion to say. That is something that we need to avoid. And I'm sure to some extent the armed forces also would come forward and give whatever information is required. Like, for example, we suffered casualties. We knew that there are 3 casualties. First we came and said there are 3 casualties. Then we had more casualties. We were open about it. We came and said there are more casualties. We have been, we means the armed forces have been trying to be as open as possible, so that people are told that this is what we suffered, this is how it has happened. So this is something that we need to wait a little more patiently than to make judgment on what we listen or hear on the TVs, what we see and hear on the TV. So that is something I would request the citizens to do.
Unfortunately, we live in that 2-minute Maggie noodle era where, everything is expected within no time, and breaking news is no more breaking news. It's basically noise. It's a lot of noise. And so my final, it's not my final question, but yeah, my request is, what do you think will help citizens understand it better? Do you think the kind of narrative which is being built through the conventional media needs course correction, or do you think that the social media route should be used, because news travels real fast on social media today? Or do you think, but for COVID, you think a people-to-people interaction is a way forward in terms of explaining to people? My understanding is, if I meet 10 people, 9 of them, honestly, they do not know the hierarchy of the Indian Army, or for that matter, any army. But they will keep talking. I was talking to Subedar Saab and Brigadier came to me. Now, yes, it is Subedar Saab, definitely, but then you can't address a brigadier as just that. It is, it's, my request, and this is my personal angst actually, is we do not show the kind of respect that the uniform has earned. I'm not saying that they are due, I'm saying they have earned it. For you to become just a cadet is, it'll take probably half the life out of you, and then to remain that for the next 20 years, and to reach the level of a brigadier and lieutenant general and general, that's an achievement not of a lifetime. It'll probably take me 3 lifetimes to even start reaching even 50% of where you people have reached. Why can't this, what is the way forward? Do you think social media, or do you think conventional media, or you think a people-to-people interaction? Because I see a lot of youngsters today who have scant respect for their uniform, and very few people really understand the privilege and the pride associated with wearing the uniform. So what is the way forward in that? Because this is next gen.
You see, it is like this. One thing that we can really do is actually read. The habit of reading, I think, is going down to some extent. I think we need to read. I am telling you, there is enough material available. You just have to go to the Indian Army website and read. Everything is given there. And for that matter, you go to Wikipedia, you go to anything, anywhere you can read actually. What we are wanting is a quick fix. Somebody should tell us quickly so that we can make an opinion of it.
In 2 minutes, sir.
So first thing is
40 words.
First minute, to Twitter world, and then 40 words or whatever. 40 characters, not even
characters,
words.
Yeah.
So the issue that comes up is, firstly, we need to make an effort to read and educate ourselves. That is one point. The second point is, there is enough material available on the media and also in the social media. Social media is something like a wildfire. Suppose if I tweet something now, I am sure whosoever is following me, maybe 700, 800 people or 600 people who are following me, will retweet or send that message through. He will have 100 people following him. So you will find within a matter of minutes, you find millions of people it reaches. And therefore, we need to be much more responsible on the social media. The problem of social media is also anonymity. You don't know where it originated, who originated it, and who forwarded it. Because you just by putting one arrow in the WhatsApp, it only says it has been forwarded. It doesn't say who is the originator, who forwarded it, nothing is known. So the anonymity in the social media actually gives rise to many of the misdemeanors that people do on the social media. And that also helps our adversaries, like Pakistan for that matter. The ISPR is very active on the social media. Yeah. Similarly, I am sure Chinese are also known very well for the cyber activity. So we need to be extremely careful in reading social media and not be having the fast finger to just forward it. Many a time I would say that forwarding should be avoided as much as you can. You will get enough to read and enough to understand, but a careless kind of forwarding of messages actually creates issues. So this is something that we need to understand. The medium, I would still say, the old medium of books, even if you want to read it through Kindle, it is still worth the effort to do it, if you can do it.
Yes.
And if you can't do it, at least read wherever you can and make your judgment on what you read in clear terms. And don't be irresponsible on the social media is something I would like to say.
And so my last thing, does the army have a kind of do's and don'ts for journalists? Because there are a lot of mainstream media journalists who do a lot of irresponsible talk. Now, the medium they choose could be TV, could be print, could be social media, but there's a lot of irresponsible journalism. Does the army have a code book? Like, do they have a rule book that this is, acceptable and this is not acceptable? And if it is not acceptable, we will take you to the civil courts for this, or we will call you up, because it's basically perception building. The Indian Army is not just fighting a territorial enemy, but they are also fighting irresponsible people who actually are contributing to a headache for the Indian Army. So, do they have that kind of a mechanism?
You see, I was Additional Director General Public Information for almost 2 years. The job of Additional Director General Public Information is basically to have the media relations for the army going. Okay. One thing I realized is that the media hates the word management. Okay. Media doesn't like to get managed. So therefore, this question of do's and don'ts doesn't arise. That is the first point that we need to understand. Having said that, I've also found most of the journalists very responsible and very nationalistic. What they are doing because they are the messengers who carry the message. But the fact of the matter remains that if you explain to them properly and say, okay friend, this is how it has happened, these are the implications, be careful about it, and they're extremely careful about it. I've seen it with my own personal experience. They're not irresponsible people, they're not nationalistic people, they are both. But the fact of the matter is, the competition in the media is actually what is making them do what they are doing. Because there are so many media houses today. Earlier days we had only one Doordarshan, we had only one All India Radio, so it was all right. Today you have Fever FM, you have another FM, whatever FMs you have see the number of TV channels you have. Obviously people are under competition and he is worried about his job. I don't blame him for it. But the fact of the matter is, yes, we need to be more forthcoming to them and briefing them correctly. That is one thing that we can really do. And I think they'll find themselves responsible enough. So we don't have, and even if you say I will take him to the court, you have a PCA, Press Council of India, you have NBSA, National Broadcasting Service Association, etc. Their teeth is lacking. Even if you complain to them, by the time the PCA gives a ruling, it takes 3 years. Now, who remembers this information which came on the paper 3 years later? I am sure you have moved on. Similar thing, there is no teeth. And even if you take it to a civil court for defamation or whatever you do, you have a major problem because civil courts will take their own time to decide on this issue. And by that time, I am sure the world has moved on many times over. So, there is the solution to this is media to self-regulate itself. They themselves should be responsible to regulate themselves. That will be a better way of doing it than to impose anything. Imposing doesn't work. This is my experience.
So I really don't know how to thank you or how
Thanks,
to really convey my gratitude and my personal gratitude, not just Indoy's gratitude, for your time and for your explanation on the issue which everyone is talking about, but very few people actually understand. My personal gratitude the minute we are in a position to travel and meet face to face. Trust me, I will be one of the first 10 people that you would be meeting with
Thank
not
you.
just a bouquet, but with a cup of coffee, which we will share. And that'll be my first cup of coffee. This is your first Instagram, and the coffee I'll share with you will be my first cup of coffee of my life. Thank you
Thanks a
so
lot.
very much. Thank you, really,
Thanks a lot.
Jayan sir. Thank you so very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Jai
Thank
Hind.
you, sir.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. Thanks
Thank
a
you.
lot.
Subscribe now and press the bell icon. Never miss an update.